If you've ever heard governments, companies, and individuals hire these private forces for their own use and protection, your own body has a very similar private security force made up of many different factors which work together to protect and serve against foreign invaders that are trying to kill you. This security force is so large that it is subdivided into many different parts, two of which will be covered in this lesson. Before we continue with this lesson, an introduction must be made to the founder of your private security detail. His name is Edward Jenner, and he was an English physician who is known as the father of immunology. Jenner developed the very first vaccine, and his work led directly or indirectly to billions of lives being saved around the world. The security force Jenner is the founder of isn't called Blackwater. It's called the immune system. This is a collection of organs, tissues, cells, and molecules that protect against pathogens. The organs and tissues of the immune system can be thought of as the buildings your security forces need to use to protect you. The cells are the individual security guards inside those buildings, those patrolling the roads between buildings, and those on the front lines, while the molecules are the guns, bullets, and communication systems the private force uses to protect you. On the front lines, there are pathogens your security forces protect against. Pathogens are everything from parasites to fungi to bacteria to viruses and even haptens, which are molecules that may cause an immune response when attached to a protein, but not on its own. A famous example of the latter is a substance called urushiol that is found in poison ivy. Regardless, the pathogens your little soldiers fight against are sometimes really small, such that a few little soldiers can kill them off, and sometimes really big, to the point of needing an entire squadron or platoon of soldiers to be sent to kill the invader. As I mentioned before, there are many different groups and subgroups of your security firm. It's a really big organization, one that probably costs hundreds of thousands of calories per year to maintain and keep the soldiers well fed. There are two main divisions of your private force. The first is called the innate immune system. This is the first line of defense against pathogens, also called the non-specific immune system. Basically, this is a large contingent of barriers like skin and soldiers or cells that is always on the front lines, always patrolling, always shooting anything and anyone on sight. They're not specific. They don't pick and choose whom to kill. They just shoot to kill without thinking. If it moves, they will attack it. They also react very quickly and are present almost all over your body at all times. This is in contrast to the other large section of your immune system called the adaptive immune system. This is an immune system specific to an antigen and generates immunological memory. In essence, this part of your security force isn't the army soldier patrolling the streets, killing any intruder on sight with a fast response, as the soldiers of the innate immune system are trained to do. No, here it's a bit different. The soldiers of the adaptive immune system are like the special forces. These special forces lag a bit behind in the fight against an invader because they take a long time to train and a while longer to deploy in comparison to the regular soldiers already on the front lines. However, they're specially built and trained to target very specific invaders. Once they are trained to kill that specific invader, they never forget them because they have a very good memory. In the future, if that particular invader were to attack your body again, the special forces would be able to be mobilized much more quickly because they no longer have to be trained for that invader after the first attack, and therefore they will remember how best to defend your body right away. The reason both these branches of your security detail exist is because the innate immune system is prone to failure in the face of a large or difficult onslaught. So, while the innate system tries to hold down the fort, so to speak, the special forces will have just enough time to be trained against a new threat. Once trained, they leave the fort and attack the invader with a lot more force, power, and specialized equipment the invader cannot withstand. If that invader ever attacks again, the special forces now know how to fight it and will attack it much more quickly the second time around. If, however, the attacker is weak and the primary forces of the innate immune system can take care of it, then the special forces do not need to be trained, and your money, in the form of caloric energy, isn't wasted on needless training of very expensive troops. In any case, the really good thing about the immune system is that the soldiers of both systems are taught a concept in military school called immune tolerance, which is a process whereby the innate and adaptive immune system distinguish between self and non-self. This basically means that the soldiers are trained to recognize the good guys from the bad guys. The last thing you need is for your very powerful security detail to start attacking your own cells and your own body without any justification in the form of friendly fire. We need to make sure that during training, soldiers learn that certain things in and out of your body are sacred and should be left alone unless they are diseased. On the flip side, they need to be trained that anything else should be killed on sight, in the case of the innate immune system, or trained to be killed, in the case of the adaptive immune system. It looks like the founder did a great job of training the troops of your immune system. His name is Edward Jenner, and he was an English physician who is known as the father of immunology. The security forces Jenner is the founder of isn't called Blackwater, it's called the immune system. This is a collection of organs, tissues, cells, and molecules that protect against pathogens. Pathogens are everything from parasites to fungi to bacteria to viruses and even haptens, which are molecules that may cause an immune response when attached to a protein, but not on its own. There are two main divisions of your private force. The first is called the innate immune system. This is the first line of defense against pathogens, also called the non-specific immune system. This is in contrast to the other large section of your immune system, called the adaptive immune system. This is an immune system specific to an antigen and generates immunological memory. In any case, the really good thing about the immune system is that the soldiers of both systems are taught a concept in military school called immune tolerance, which is a process whereby the innate and adaptive immune system distinguish between self and non-self.
In a really big mansion outside of Detroit. He's sort of worried about being home alone, but he's a clever little kid. If anything does go wrong, he knows how to respond. Timmy is going to use the concept of physiology, which is the science and study of the functions and processes of living organisms and any respective parts, such as physical or chemical factors involved therein, to show us how he and the body deals with invading organisms that try to infect us. One night, Timmy hears two robbers trying to get into the house. These grown men have no idea what's coming to them as they try to enter. The same goes for invading pathogens, disease-causing agents that try to enter our body. As the robbers try to make entry, Timmy throws a vat of acid onto their heads from the second floor, causing the robbers to writhe in pain. This reminds me of the hydrochloric acid produced by the stomach that also kills invading organisms that make it down into the gastrointestinal system. But these robbers are hardy. They are acid-stung, yet they keep moving. Timmy doesn't give up. He throws down a big vat of slimy, sticky goo to try and pin them to the floor. Mucus is produced by the mucous membranes of the body, such as those in the respiratory tract and urinary tract. The mucus is sticky and traps any invading pathogens, preventing them from getting any further into the body. To top that off, Timmy starts throwing scissors at the robbers to try and cut them apart. This is like enzymes, proteins that speed up biochemical reactions found in the gastrointestinal tract, including the mouth, that cut apart invading pathogens. All of those defenses, although physiologically produced in some respects, aren't truly an active response to the infection in the sense that the body activates these mechanisms to fight off the infection after it has begun. They are responses that are almost automatic and passive because the mucus, acid, and enzymes are always there and always killing off the invaders before they enter the tissues and bloodstream of the body. However, some physiological responses are activated after the fact, after the organisms have gotten inside. These responses include inflammation and temperature. See, the robbers got past and survived the acid, mucus, and enzymes. They have now entered the home. In other words, the invaders have made their way into the tissues, cells, and vessels of the body. Now, little Timmy and the body have to turn to active defense systems. First, Timmy tries to set the robbers on fire. This is like the inflammatory process in the body, a process that uses cells and chemicals near the site of infection to try and kill everything in sight. This process is indiscriminate and generates a lot of redness, pain, and heat to kill the invaders. Think back to the last time you cut a finger. It probably got a bit swollen, hot, painful, and red to the touch. Those are all signs of inflammation. The process of inflammation involves the generation of a fever, an abnormal elevation in body temperature. A fever causes the body temperature to increase to levels that most microorganisms find difficult to live and multiply in. Setting the robbers' hair on fire and burning their hands as they touch hot doorknobs doesn't seem to stop these hardy robbers either. Timmy is beat. He doesn't know what else to do here, so he calls the cops. The cops come in to target and destroy the robbers with advanced weaponry. Your body does this as well through several means. Two of these include the use of white blood cells and antibodies. White blood cells are one of any number of cells that fight off infection by either killing the invader directly during inflammation or by tagging it for destruction by another cell or process. White blood cells are also the cells that produce antibodies, unique and specific protein-based molecules that destroy or tag for destruction invading pathogens. The cops do their job and destroy the two robbers with their technical know-how and advanced weapons. All that's left for Timmy to do is to sweep away the robbers and the mess they made out of the home. Actually, the removal of dirt, debris, dead and dying cells happens by your body in order to help fight off infection or to clear one away. While Timmy uses a broom made of horsehair to do this, our body has its own microscopic hairs called cilia, which remove the things I discussed out of the body. One place this occurs in is the respiratory tract, where cilia beat towards the throat, and you cough up a bunch of gunk. This is why when you are sick, you cough up that disgusting goo. Your body is trying to sweep away the mess. Let's sort out this mess by summarizing everything. All sorts of physiological processes passively and actively respond to pathogens. Physiology is the science and study of the functions and processes of living organisms and any respective parts such as physical or chemical factors involved therein, and pathogens are disease-causing agents. Our body uses hydrochloric acid, a substance that kills invading organisms that make it down into the gastrointestinal system. It also uses mucus, which is a substance produced by the mucous membranes of the body, such as those in the respiratory tract and urinary tract, that traps invading pathogens. It can use enzymes to cut them apart. Enzymes are proteins that speed up biochemical reactions. If all of those fail, our body can set us on fire thanks to the inflammatory process, a process that uses cells and chemicals near the site of infection to try and kill everything in sight, one that can generate a fever, an abnormal elevation in body temperature. And if all else fails, it uses white blood cells to generate antibodies, unique and specific protein-based molecules that destroy or tag for destruction invading pathogens.
Immune system. The former is the primary line of defense in your body's fight against pathogens or invaders that are always trying to harm it. This very first line of defense is made up of anatomical barriers and their components that try to stop an invader from getting into your body in the first place. This is what we'll focus in on in this lesson. When a pathogen tries to enter your body, it must choose a path to get in. These paths can be through a crack in the skin, through the nose, or through the digestive system, among others. One of the most visible barriers to infection your body has is the skin. If your blood vessels were like a tunnel running underneath your skin, then your skin would be a physical roadblock of sorts on the highway leading to that tunnel. If a pathogen, like bacteria, were to try to ram through the roadblock like a car, it would most likely be very unsuccessful. The skin is pretty strong in this respect, kind of like a giant concrete barrier. However, if the roadblock, your skin, is damaged due to something like a cut, the car would be able to pass right through the shattered roadblock and into the tunnel. Once inside the tunnel, it can spread all over the body to cause you a lot of damage. In addition to its purely anatomical way of defending against pathogens, your skin has something known as skin flora, which is bacteria on the human skin. Some of these bacteria are commensal, or basically harmless, while others are mutualistic and actually help to fight off pathogenic skin flora. You can imagine these friendly bacteria as friendly cars on the road that set themselves up across the highway, just like the roadblock, as an added layer of protection against a pathogen trying to get into the tunnel. Besides entering through the skin, another way by which a pathogen can try to gain access to your body is through the gastrointestinal tract, which includes the esophagus, stomach, and intestines. However, this is a very treacherous route through very dark and dangerous corridors. It's like spelunking or going into caves. Once a pathogen enters the GI tract, it sees that this GI tract is very dark and very perilous. In this system of caves and tunnels that connect those caves, our spelunker can fall into a highly acidic digestive fluid called gastric acid that will kill it very quickly. If falling into an acidic lake in a cave wasn't bad enough, and the invader manages to get through, the intestines have a very rude awakening for the pathogen. The intestines are full of gut flora, or bacteria in the digestive tract, some of which are mutualistic bacteria involved in digestion and the defense of the human body. This gut flora is basically filled with dangerous bats ready to fight for their home, the intestinal tract, and kill off any invader trying to harm it. They're like the mutualistic skin flora, but in your gut. As a cool side note, there are about 100 trillion bacteria in your digestive tract. This is 10 times more than the amount of cells that make up your entire body. In that respect, you're basically a giant walking vat of bacteria more than you are a human being. Regardless, pathogens don't just take to the roads, tunnels, and caves. They love air travel as much as most of us. When they take to the air, they like to attack us through our respiratory tract, meaning they'll be inhaled via the mouth or nose and go into the back of our throat, perhaps down the trachea and into our lungs. Thankfully, as this little airplane, the pathogen, enters the respiratory tract, it encounters a wide variety of defense systems that are part of the innate immune system. These include mucus, saliva, and lysozymes, which are enzymes found in tears, mucus, and saliva that help to kill bacteria. As I'm sure you know, mucus and saliva are pretty wet and act like high humidity would in the air on the pathogen airplane. This high humidity would slow down or put a stop to our pathogen completely. However, if the pathogen has engines that are powerful enough to get past the humidity, the saliva in the mouth and mucus in the nose, there are other defense mechanisms ready to spring into action. For example, they may encounter something called the mucociliary apparatus, which will help to clear away any pathogen that crashes or gets stuck in the mucus. This is a system composed of mucus-covered cilia that clears the respiratory tract of foreign material. You can liken the cilia, which are like little hairs, to airport crews. If a pathogen, our airplane, makes a crash landing on the runway in the mucus, the cilia will spring into action to clean up the mess and will move it from the lower reaches of the respiratory tract into the upper reaches, where it can be either sneezed or coughed out or swallowed into the deep, dark caves of the gastrointestinal tract. Keep in mind that we covered the main methods of the anatomical components of the innate immune system. There are plenty of other ways by which your body protects itself using physical or chemical means. For example, the secretion of things like urine, tears, or substances found in tears and urine can serve to remove pathogens from your system or kill them outright. As a review, let's go over the anatomical portions of the innate immune system that pathogens can use in order to enter your body and the different methods these body systems use in order to protect you. Your skin can protect you physically. Like a band-aid over a wound, your skin is like a band-aid over your entire body. In addition to its purely anatomical way of defending against pathogens, your skin has something known as skin flora, which is bacteria on the human skin, some of which is mutualistic and helps to fight off pathogenic bacteria on the skin. Pathogens can use your GI tract to invade your body as well. However, the stomach has a highly acidic digestive fluid called gastric acid that will kill many invaders very quickly, and the intestines are full of gut flora or bacteria in the digestive tract, some of which are mutualistic bacteria involved in digestion and the defense of the human body. If the invaders try to avoid the skin and GI tract and try to make their way in via the respiratory system, then mucus, saliva, and lysozymes, which are enzymes found in tears, mucus, and saliva that help to kill bacteria, are used to help protect you. In addition, the respiratory system has a mucociliary apparatus, which is a system composed of mucus-covered cilia that clears the respiratory tract of foreign material. Picture a nice summer day at the beach. All is well. The sun is out, the breeze is cooling you off, and the water is crystal clear. Then you get stung by a bee, and everything goes haywire. Now your day's ruined. At best, you'll have some local pain near where the bee stung you. At worst, you could die. That is all thanks to a very important part of your innate immune system. This part is called inflammation, and it is a series of defensive biological reactions to harmful agents that leads to pain, redness, swelling, and heat in the affected areas of the body. More technically, you may hear that inflammation leads to several cardinal signs called dolor, or pain, calor, which means heat, rubor, or redness, tumor, which implies a swelling of sorts, and functio laesa, or loss of function. All of this shouldn't really come as a big shocker to you. Picture this. The bee landed on your arm and stung you. The physical action of the sting slicing through your tissues sets off nerves that signal pain to your brain. The venom that comes with the stinger is recognized as a foreign substance and sets off a chain of reactions which results in increased flow or red-hot blood to the area and the release of many different molecules by your body's cells. Some of the molecules released by nearby cells cause additional pain, while others help to create leaky blood vessels. This leakiness of blood vessels leads to the swelling of surrounding tissue, and all of these components may, in one way, shape, or form, lead to the loss of function of an area affected by inflammation. This terrible sounding process isn't warrantless. In fact, the tissues, cells, and chemicals secreted by the cells that lead to inflammation. For example, if a little bacteria were to invade your body through a little crack in the skin, your innate immune system would launch the same exact inflammatory response as it would have to a bee sting. That's because the inflammatory process is non-specific. It goes after anything and everything in virtually the same way. Remember that point for just a little while later. As this little bacteria sneaks into the crack in the skin, your body's cells recognize that there is a foreign invader that shouldn't be there. They release all sorts of chemicals, notably histamine, that cause the blood vessels in the area to become leaky. This leakiness is super important, as it allows for important cells, white blood cells, normally unable to pass through the vessel walls, to waltz into the affected tissue where they can kill the bacteria. If they can't kill the bacteria, they can release molecules used for signaling, called cytokines, to attract bigger or stronger cells to kill the bacteria for them. Besides white blood cells, the permeability of the vessels, namely capillaries, also allows for fluids to leak into the area. This fluid contains all sorts of proteins, enzymes, and other goodies that can help to kill the foreign invader as well. As this fluid leaks in, the swelling increases, and this in turn causes pressure in the tissues to build up. As the pressure builds up, it compresses everything, including nerve receptors in the area of the swelling. This compression of nerves causes additional pain signals to be sent to your brain. This brings me to my next important point. I told you to remember that the inflammatory process is non-specific. This means that it goes after everything, and I mean everything. The molecules released during the inflammatory process not only kill bacteria, but end up hurting your own body's cells as well, which causes you that pain. Think of it this way. You can light a match, like a hot inflammatory response, to try and kill some fleas, the invaders, living in the carpet of your home. You'll burn the fleas alive all right, but you'll also burn down the entire house in the process as well. The fire is non-specific. It'll burn everything down. Likewise, the inflammatory process, while necessary to fight off infection, can lead to deadly consequences if not controlled, like our house fire. One notable deadly short-term consequence due in part to the inflammatory response includes anaphylactic shock, which is a severe, potentially deadly, and whole-body allergic reaction that occurs with rapid speed. For example, people who have been stung by a bee may become overly sensitized to the venom. If they are stung again, the inflammatory response doesn't just produce a local reaction to the bee sting. It goes into overdrive and over-releases substances that are supposed to actually help you. When this over-release of cytokines, histamine, and other molecules occurs, your body begins to shut down due to cardiovascular and respiratory failure. This can obviously cause death within minutes if not treated. In addition, chronic or long-term inflammation has been shown to cause cancer by altering the structure of your body's cellular DNA. If this happens, mutations in the DNA may occur that lead to the cell replicating over and over again without any inhibitory control, which in and of itself is a component of cancer. With those examples in mind, I hope you can appreciate how although the inflammatory system tries to help you by getting rid of the venom or bacteria or other foreign substances, it can end up killing you as well if used in too great a quantity or for too long a time. But let's not focus on the fact that your body might accidentally kill you. Instead, think pleasant thoughts, like the main concepts of our lesson. Inflammation is a series of defensive biological reactions to harmful agents that leads to pain, redness, swelling, and heat in the affected areas of the body. One notable deadly short-term consequence due in part to the inflammatory response includes anaphylactic shock, which is a severe, potentially deadly whole-body allergic reaction that occurs with rapid speed. This is because all sorts of molecules, notably histamine, are released. Histamine is a molecule that increases the permeability of blood vessels to cells and molecules. Other molecules, such as cytokines, are released as well. Cytokines are important as well since they are molecules used for signaling, and this helps to coordinate the process of inflammation between body systems and cells.
Like how well they are built and what stone they are made of, and extrinsic ones like what kinds of projectiles or weather patterns they are exposed to over time. All of these factors influence the wall's strength. Your immune system, your own castle wall and defense mechanism against outside attack, is similarly only so strong. The strength of your immune system depends on many intrinsic and extrinsic factors, some of which we'll go over in this lesson. Have you ever noticed that when you're really stressed out, you're more likely to get sick? So maybe like right before or after a big exam, or if you've been flying for 30 hours with no sleep, or when you've lost a job or a loved one. Stress is just one of many intrinsic factors that affect your immune system. High levels of long-term stress lower the body's ability to effectively fight off an infection. Stress is really an umbrella term, guys. Stress can be psychologically induced, like stress before an exam, or it can be physiologically induced. However, note that both most often go hand in hand to some degree. High levels of physiological stress can be placed on the body by things like poor nutrition. If you have poor quality stones building the castle walls, the defenses won't be any good, now will they? If your body doesn't get enough high quality nutrients like proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, it also cannot build or maintain a healthy immune system. A person's medical conditions can also affect their immune system. If the body is already under attack by an illness of any sort, the body will only have so many resources to fight off another attack. A prime example of this is the virus HIV, which hurts a person's immune system, eventually predisposing them to attack by pathogens they would normally not be bothered by. The medical problem may also include damage to the skin. The skin is one part of your immune system. If it's damaged or breached, then like a hole in the castle wall, invaders can get through. This is why skin integrity is crucial to health. There are plenty of other things that can influence a person's immune system. Proper physical activity will boost the immune system. This includes doing cardio and strength training. Excellent hygienic practices improve the immune system. Ever heard of washing your hands? We do that to get rid of as many potentially harmful invaders around us as possible. Those were examples of intrinsic factors that affect your immune system, those that happen within you or those you do to yourself. Sometimes, however, things are outside of our immediate and direct control. These are the extrinsic factors that influence our immune system. They include things like the climate we live in. If you live in a very cold climate, then this adds additional stress upon your body. You'll need a lot more nutrients, including plain old calories, to survive in a cold climate, all else equal. If you don't meet those nutritional needs, you'll be more likely to fall ill. Occupational hazards, where you work, also affects your immune system. Do you have a really high-stress job? Maybe you're an investment banker with clients hounding you about why their portfolio tanked this year. That could definitely hurt your immune system. Some other occupations deal with a lot of dangerous radiation. Radiation can kill immune system cells directly. That would be like using a weapon to kill the defenders standing on the castle walls. That doesn't do much to beef up security, does it? If you work with a lot of sick people who have a communicable disease, a disease that can be passed on from one living being to another, then you're obviously placing yourself at greater risk of developing a problem, since your castle walls are constantly being tested by the enemy, with one of them sooner or later being able to breach the overwhelmed immune system. Similarly, if you smoke, something within your power to stop, or you work around a lot of smoke, then this can also weaken your immune system. Now that you have a good idea of the many intrinsic and extrinsic factors that can influence the body's defenses, let's review them another time. Stress is one factor that can affect your body's defenses. High levels of long-term stress lower the body's ability to effectively fight off an infection. Medical conditions can also affect their immune system. Proper physical activity will boost the immune system. Excellent hygienic practices improve the immune system. The climate you live in can affect your body's defenses. A cold climate can cause cracks in the skin through which bacteria can invade your body. Occupational hazards, such as smoke and radiation, can weaken your defenses. If you work with a lot of people or animals who have a communicable disease, a disease that can be passed on from one living being to another, then you're placing yourself at a higher risk of being infected.
There's a TV show out that talks about superhumans. These are people with amazing abilities that seem beyond what nature intended for humans to ever attain. However, did you know you're probably a superhuman too? In that respect, you are almost certainly far more powerful than what nature intended you to be. How so? Well, exercise your superhuman concentration powers and find out. You are a superhuman because you have been vaccinated. Nature never intended for you to receive vaccines, suspensions of weakened infectious organisms that are administered in order to prevent or treat disease. What this is saying is that your doctor has given you a shot in order to make you stronger than nature intended you to be. Had you not been vaccinated against a certain disease, you could potentially become very sick or even die if you ever come across the bug that causes that disease. But with a vaccine, you become a superhuman because the vaccine causes your immune system to develop defenses for the future for any potential encounter with this bug. So when the moment does arrive,
and the bug does strike, you are ready to fight it off completely and stay alive. You are what you eat. Popeye became superhuman when he ate spinach, something we know is good for us. It's also good for the immune system, as are other dietary and lifestyle factors. We can become superhumans and promote our body's defenses, the immune system, by eating lots of whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. By avoiding saturated fat, we improve our defenses as well. People who don't smoke are known to have better immune systems. Those of us who try and avoid or deal quickly with stress are also stronger on the inside. Stress is like kryptonite to our immune system. Think back to how many times you've gotten sick or gotten a cold sore around the time of a stressful event like a big test, or a long red-eye flight, or the loss of a loved one. Lots of restful sleep is important for a good defense system as well, not only because it lowers stress, but also because it helps the body heal. Regular exercise is known to improve the immune system manyfold by supercharging it with lots of energy, blood flow, and nutrition. Beyond this, there aren't too many other distinct things we can do to boost our body's defense systems from an internal perspective, meaning we could try and prevent diseases externally by following proper hygiene and sanitation protocols, but there are few other ways to truly boost our immune system from the inside. Consequently, products that claim to promote a healthy immune system should be taken with a grain of salt, because we actually have no idea how to, quote, boost the immune system. We don't know which of the many components of the immune system should be boosted, when, by how much, and why, all the while without placing a patient at risk of yet another problem. Too much of a good thing can be bad. For instance, you need red blood cells to live, but if you blood dope, meaning you put in more red blood cells into your body than normal, then you increase the chances of stroke and death. Similarly, we're just not sure how much we truly want to boost the immune system and its components beyond a certain point, because doing so may be fraught with perils we're still unaware of. Vaccines, suspensions of weakened infectious organisms that are administered to prevent or treat disease, are just one way we can promote the body's defenses. We can do much more, however. Proper diet and exercise can help boost the immune system. The avoidance of stress is another biggie, as stress is known to suppress the body's defenses. Finally, don't fall for the gimmicks of products claiming to boost your immune system. So long as you've got a healthy diet and lifestyle and are following your doctor's orders, it's unlikely you need to take these supplements. At best, they're just a waste of your money unless your doc tells you that you need them. At worst, they may do more harm than good in the long run.